I used to want things, but I kept them small, quiet, almost scared. Like secrets folded into notebook pages I never finished. Like playlists I made for a version of me I hadn't become yet. A solo trip to somewhere with fog and bookstores. A Sunday morning with someone who laughs at the same kind of nothing I do. A job that lets me exhale. Not much, but enough. And maybe that was the problem. I thought if I asked for less, life would hurt me less. But the math never added up, because even small dreams break, and even quiet wishes echo when they go unanswered. Somewhere between then and now, I stopped writing things down. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't believe anymore. The pen felt too heavy for dreams that never called back. You don't notice it right away. When the silence replaces your want, it starts soft. You skip one answer, delay one text, stop one sentence halfway, and then suddenly, you don't make birthday lists. You scroll past manifestation reels. You laugh when someone says, "You deserve the world," like it's a joke meant for someone else. The strange part? No one sees it. No one knows you stopped wanting, because giving up looks like functioning. You still show up, reply to emails, ask others about their plans. You just don't ask about your own. I call it the quiet fade, that slow, invisible erosion of belief, where the dreams don't die, they just go still, like songs paused mid-chorus, like an inbox with only read receipts. Nothing dramatic, just nothing. There's a drawer in my apartment, bottom right. Inside is a blue journal. I used to call it my someday book. I'd write down everything I thought future me would thank me for. Things like, write poetry again, move out of the city, say how you feel without apologizing. I found it 2 weeks ago, covered in dust. The ink still alive, but the dreamer gone. I read through it in silence, not because I was nostalgic, but because I didn't recognize myself. Or worse, I did. And she looked tired. I miss her. The one who thought soon meant something. The one who believed that loving hard and trying harder would be enough. But hope aged in me, turned into something heavier, turned into a risk I couldn't afford to take again. Because how many times can you plan a future that forgets to arrive? How many versions of you have already stood at the edge of almost, only to be told, not yet? It's strange. I don't even remember when it changed. When wanting turned into waiting, when waiting turned into whatever this is. Now when someone asks me what I want, I joke, say things like a nap or $1 million, things so out of reach they're safe to say. But the real answer? I don't know. Or maybe I do. But it's buried beneath years of unanswered effort, of plans that felt holy at the time, only to become paper ghosts. And so, I live like this, alive but a little unlit, fine but flickering, hopeful, only on days when the light doesn't feel like a lie. I don't think I stopped dreaming. I think I got tired of being wrong about the future, and maybe that's okay. Maybe this is what healing looks like. Not fireworks, but dusting off the pieces. Not knowing what comes next, but finally noticing the silence you've been calling peace. The journal's still in the drawer. I didn't throw it away, but I didn't write in it either. Not yet. I just sat with it, held it, like someone holding a story they're not ready to rewrite, but no longer pretending they forgot it exists. And for now, that's enough. Still, late at night, when the world forgets to be loud, a question returns. Not to hurt, just to sit beside me. When did I stop asking for more? Somewhere along the way, I started rationing my hope, like it was something I could run out of, like it was expensive, and I had already wasted too much. I used to be generous with it, pouring it into people, plans, promises. I thought if I just believed hard enough, things would stay. People would try. Life would meet me halfway. It didn't. There's a certain kind of silence you learn after that, not the peaceful kind, the kind that lives in your bones, like the silence of a text you don't send, because the last one never got answered. or the silence of blowing out birthday candles and realizing you don't even know what to wish for anymore. I remember being 7. I wished for a blue bike with white streamers. Didn't get it. But that was okay. I was young. I still believed in next time. Then I was 13. I wished for friends who actually liked me when I wasn't useful. Didn't get that either. But I blamed myself. Then I was 19. I wished for someone to choose me back. Not halfway, not in secret. Just back. They didn't. By 22, I stopped wishing, not all at once. It's more like this. You reach for the same door over and over, and after the 5th time, when it doesn't open, you just stop reaching. I tell myself I'm not bitter, just practical. Hope became like a balloon I didn't want to hold anymore, because every time it floated, I knew what came next. That slow hiss of disappointment, the deflation, the regret of ever tying the knot. People think hopelessness is loud, but mine was quiet. It sounded like, I'm fine. It looked like doing things alone because asking feels like too much. It felt like lowering expectations so low, you trip over them on the way out. And the worst part? It started to make sense. Because every time I wanted something, really wanted it, it felt like I was handing the world a knife. And every time it found a way to cut me, softly, precisely, right where it would hurt the most. Like when I studied all night to get into that program, only to be told I was a strong candidate who didn't make the final list. Or when I planned the perfect birthday for someone who forgot mine 3 months later. Or when I opened up piece by piece and the person on the other end just blinked and changed the subject. Little betrayals, nothing headline-worthy, but enough to make you fold your hope into smaller and smaller shapes until it fits inside your closed fist. Sometimes I still hear the younger version of me, the one who used to pray with her eyes closed and fingers crossed. She asks, "What if it works this time?" And I almost answer. But then I remember how many times this time turned into never again. So I just stay quiet. I don't tell people what I want anymore. Not because I don't want anything, but because wanting feels dangerous. Like telling the universe your softest places and daring it not to press there. Instead, I keep things vague. If I say I'm tired, it's because I'm carrying too many unspoken longings. If I laugh too loud, it's because it distracts me from the ache that nothing is lighting up inside me. If I pretend not to care, it's because caring felt like bleeding. They say you should dream big, but no one tells you what to do with all the pieces when the dream breaks quietly, without warning, without apology. I wish I could say I've grown out of this, that I'm healed, that I've learned to hope again. But the truth is more complicated. I'm not hopeless. I'm just cautious. Because desire, when it keeps collapsing, starts to feel like a setup. Like the world saying, let's see how many times you can get back up. And maybe I got tired of playing. So now I protect myself by asking for less, by expecting even less than that, by calling it peace when really it's just the absence of trying. The younger me wouldn't recognize this version. She'd ask why the stars I once wished on don't shine anymore, why the journal is empty, why the playlist never changes, and I'd tell her the truth. I stopped wishing, not because I didn't care, but because it kept hurting. There's something no one tells you about letting go of your dreams. It doesn't always feel like freedom. Sometimes it just feels quieter, like walking out of a room you decorated and locking the door behind you. The air is still, the lights are off, but the memories haven't left. I used to chase things, hard, the kind of chasing that leaves your heart panting. Deadlines, goals. Next year, I was always chasing something, or someone, or some version of me that looked better than the one I had. They say ambition is noble, but they never ask what it cost you. I once read that to desire is to suffer, and at first I didn't believe it. Desire felt alive. It felt like movement, until I realized I wasn't moving towards something. I was bleeding out for it. Every time I reached for more, I lost something. Time, trust, pieces of myself I didn't know were up for negotiation. I didn't lose because I failed. I lost because I kept betting on things that didn't love me back. And when you do that long enough, wanting starts to look like danger. So I stopped. Not loudly, not out of bitterness, but like someone stepping out of the rain, unsure if they'll ever step back in. It wasn't weakness, it was wisdom in disguise. I remember a shelf I had in my room growing up. I used to keep glass jars on it. Each one had a piece of paper inside. A hope, a wish, a little what if. Now I think about how fragile they were, how easily they could shatter, how none of them came true. Not exactly, but I kept them anyway, because even if they hurt, at least they felt like something. Today, the shelf is gone, and I don't write hopes on paper anymore. Not because I'm cynical, but because I'm cautious, because I learned the weight of disappointment and how quietly it breaks you. I watch people now, posting goals, timelines, 5-year visions, and I get it. We've built a culture that worships the chase. If you're not reaching, you're falling behind. If you're not growing, you're wasting space. But no one talks about the other side of desire, the side where chasing becomes surviving, where the finish line keeps moving, where resting feels like failure, and wanting less feels like losing your edge. I used to think I was lazy. Now I wonder if I was just tired of bleeding for things that never held me back. People mistake rest for surrender, but sometimes rest is resistance. It's saying, I don't have to destroy myself to prove I matter. Maybe the bravest thing you can do is want less, not out of fear, but out of softness, out of finally realizing your peace doesn't need to be earned through exhaustion. I don't talk about this often because ambition is still trendy, burnout is still glorified, and if you say, I'm not chasing anything right now, people look at you like you've given up. But maybe I didn't give up. Maybe I just walked away from what kept cutting me open. And maybe I'm okay not bleeding anymore. Because that's what desire had become for me. Not a dream, but a negotiation with pain. A currency I kept spending, just to feel worthy. There's a part of me that still wonders what I'm missing. The conferences, the milestones, the applause. But then I sit with myself, in soft clothes in a room I like, sipping tea no one else made for me. And I breathe, and I realize, this quiet is mine. Not earned, not chased, not compared. Just mine. I still think about those jars, not with regret, but with tenderness. Each one was a version of me who tried, who believed, and I don't shame her for that. But now, I hold no jars, just silence. And maybe for once, that's enough. Because I didn't lose ambition. I just stopped negotiating with pain. There was a girl I used to be. She made vision boards from magazine clippings and midnight cravings, taped them to her wall like constellations, small maps to places she'd never been, but already belonged to. She believed in someday the way some people believe in gravity. Not because she saw it, but because she felt it. Everywhere, she kept lists. Everywhere, notebooks, napkins, the Notes app on her old phone that still lives in a drawer. Lists of dreams that didn't ask for too much. Nothing wild, just a room with morning light. Someone who texts back first. A job that doesn't drain the color out of her. To feel seen in a room without having to perform. She wanted so gently. That was her problem. She never demanded anything, only hoped. Only whispered her wishes into late-night pillows and empty coffee cups. And you'd think that kind of softness would be protected. But it wasn't. The world doesn't break the loud ones first. It wears down the quiet ones, slowly, softly, until you can't tell if they stopped asking because they healed, or because they gave up. She didn't even notice when the dreaming started to dim. When she stopped taping things to her wall, stopped writing down lists, stopped telling people what she wanted because their silence made her feel ridiculous. She called it growing up, but it wasn't. It was grieving. And I didn't know I'd mourn her while still breathing. She had these rituals. Every Sunday morning, she'd light a candle and journal, even when she had nothing to say. She believed that lighting a flame meant she was still becoming. Now, I light candles out of habit. The wax melts. The room smells warm. But it doesn't feel like a beginning anymore. She used to hum on the bus, even when no one was listening, especially when no one was listening. Now the headphones go in. The volume goes up, not to hear, but to drown out the silence. I found one of her notebooks last month. It fell out of a moving box. A little pink journal, edges curled like they'd been waiting too long to be opened. Inside were tiny dreams. Write a book. Go to New York in the fall. Tell him how you really feel. I closed the book quickly, not because it hurt, but because it remembered a version of me I'd forgotten how to hold. She was so honest, so certain that all it would take was time, that the universe wasn't cruel, just slow, that love was on the way, that she was worthy, even when tired. She didn't ask for much, but life made her feel like she was asking for too much anyway. So she stopped. Not dramatically, not with slammed doors, but the way lights fade in a theater. You don't know it's happening until it's dark, and yet she's still in here. Sometimes when I pause too long in the greeting card aisle, when I stop in front of the bookstore window and imagine a cover with my name on it, when someone asks me what I used to love and I hesitate, not because I don't remember, but because I do. She visits me then, quietly. She doesn't speak, just sits nearby, humming. And I realize she didn't leave. She just sat down inside me and waited. Not for applause, not for proof, just for me. She's not mad. She doesn't blame me for forgetting. She only asked to be remembered, not as a mistake, but as a beginning. She was the one who stared at the stars. Now I avoid windows, because stars remind me of things I used to believe, and windows reflect too much. Versions of me that still hope, and that's harder to look at than pain. But tonight, maybe I'll sit by the window, just for a minute. Maybe I'll light a candle, not because I believe again, but because I'm tired of pretending I don't. She's still in here, the girl who made lists, who believed in love, who thought her softness would be enough. Maybe she was right. Maybe I've just been too tired to see it. She looked at the stars. Now I avoid windows, but maybe, just maybe, it's time to open one. I opened the window today, not wide, just enough. Enough for a breeze to find me. Enough to remember how air feels when you haven't braced for it. And strangely, it didn't sting. The light didn't feel like accusation. The wind didn't feel like a threat. For years, I thought wanting was dangerous. That if I hoped again, I'd get hurt again. That longing was just a dressed-up version of setting myself up for heartbreak. So I stopped. Stopped lighting the candle. Stopped sitting by the window. Stopped asking for more. Because I convinced myself that if I didn't ask, I couldn't be let down. If I didn't dream, I wouldn't fail. If I didn't reach, I wouldn't fall. And for a while, that worked. My life became smaller, but quieter, predictable, safe, emotionally muted. Like living inside a house where nothing breaks, because nothing ever moves. But silence, no matter how soft, eventually starts to echo. And the echo brought me back to her, the girl I used to be, the one who scribbled dreams in the margins of receipts, the one who hummed while walking alone, the one who believed maybe was a door, not a dead end. I saw her again the other day, at that coffee shop, the one she used to visit with her notebook and $4 latte she couldn't afford. I was walking past, no intention to stop, but something in the air paused me. I looked in. The table by the window was empty, but in my mind she was there, leaning over a page, hope spilling out of her in soft blue ink. She didn't know then what it would cost her to keep dreaming, but she did it anyway. Not because she was naive, but because hope was her native language. I didn't go inside, but I didn't look away either. And maybe that was the shift. Maybe not avoiding the ache is the beginning of healing it. When I got home, I opened the drawer, the same drawer I've ignored for months. And there it was, the pink notebook. Worn, quiet, waiting. I didn't read the old pages. Not yet. I just held it. Let the weight of forgotten dreams rest in my hands. And instead of grief, I felt something gentler. Not excitement, not hope, just permission. Permission to want again. Not like before, not with fire, but with breath. I poured a cup of tea and sat beside the window. The candle, I lit it, without meaning to make it a ritual. But the flame danced like it remembered something. Something I hadn't let myself feel in years. A soft what if. Not loud, not demanding, just present. Like the feeling of wanting to text someone, not because they owe you anything, but because your heart simply misses their name, lighting up your screen. Like the impulse to return to a book you abandoned halfway, not to finish it, but to be with a version of yourself who still believed the ending would matter. Like catching a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and not immediately looking away. I used to think healing meant becoming someone new. Now I wonder if it's just about letting the old parts speak again. The ones that got quiet. The ones that never left, just stepped aside so I could survive. She's still here. The one who believed in love. The one who made playlists for people she hadn't met yet. The one who bought birthday cards months in advance because she always thought she'd have someone to give them to. She doesn't need me to return all at once. She just wants to sit near me again, to write something, anything, in the margins, to hum softly while I make breakfast, to remind me that longing was never the enemy. The enemy was the shame, the silence, the pressure to stop caring before anyone noticed I still did. But I care, still, even now, even after everything. And maybe that's enough. So no, I didn't make a wish. Didn't write a 5-year plan. Didn't call it healing. I just let the wanting rise. Let it bloom like steam from a warm mug. Let it be small. Let it be soft. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't shut the door.
It happened on a Thursday. Gray skies, soft air. Nothing remarkable. Just a quiet afternoon that didn't ask much of me. I was walking home from the grocery store, arms full of the usual, oat milk, granola, laundry detergent, and then I saw them. A small bundle of white tulips, tucked between 2 overflowing flower buckets on the sidewalk. They weren't even the prettiest ones, a little bruised at the edges, a bit uneven. But I stopped, and I looked. I don't know why. Maybe I was tired of walking past things that used to pull me in. Maybe something in me whispered, pick something, just because you want to. So I did. I bought the tulips. Not for a friend, not for a birthday, not for a reason, just because they were there, and I was too. I walked home slower, held them like they mattered. And when I placed them in the chipped mug by the window, the same one that used to sit untouched with cold coffee in part 1, I realized something had changed. Not dramatically, not loudly, but enough. Enough that I no longer needed a reason to let something beautiful exist near me. Enough that wanting, even something small, didn't feel shameful anymore. Enough that I didn't shut the door this time. I stood there for a while, looking at the tulips, the way the light bent around them, the way the water in the mug caught a reflection of my hand. And I felt something. Not joy, not closure, but space. Space to breathe. Space to maybe begin again. Even if I don't know what beginning means yet. Later that night, I pulled out the pink notebook. The one from before. The one that's been with me through every quiet collapse. It had been months, maybe years, since I'd last written anything real in it. I opened to a blank page. The paper felt familiar, like something that had waited without pressure. And I didn't write a plan. Didn't list goals. Didn't pour out paragraphs, just one word. Maybe. That was enough. A seed doesn't need an instruction manual. It just needs a place to rest. And maybe that's what I'm giving myself now. Not a blueprint, not a 5-year vision, just soil. I sat by the window for a while after that. Let the night fall without rushing it. The candle flickered again. Not for ritual, not for symbolism, just for light. And across from me, in the reflection of the glass, I could almost see her. The girl I used to be. The one who dreamed with reckless tenderness. The one who cried easily and loved loudly, and believed the universe wrote in lowercase kindness. She didn't speak. She just looked at me. And for once, I didn't look away. I didn't feel like a stranger in my own gaze. I didn't brace. I didn't apologize for who I'd become, or for how long it took me to return. I just stayed. Maybe healing isn't the moment the pain leaves. Maybe it's when you stop trying to evict it. When you let your silence sit beside you, not to be solved but witnessed. The mug, the window, the candle, the notebook, they're all still here, but now there are tulips. And they don't demand anything from me. They don't require a breakthrough. They just exist. Gently, softly. Proof that I can still choose beauty, even after forgetting how. So no, this isn't a resolution. This isn't a happily ever after. This is just a return. To breath, to softness, to the right to want again. Not everything, not perfectly, not for applause. Just enough. And if you're listening, and you've forgotten how to want, or if your heart still flinches when something feels like hope, maybe this is your reminder too. You don't have to dive. You don't have to sprint. You don't even have to believe it fully. Just open the window, place the tulips, light the candle, write one word, even if it's just maybe. So if this story found you in the middle of your numbness, in the middle of a life that looks fine but feels quiet, then maybe. Don't scroll away just yet. Not this time. Let this stay open. Send this to someone who used to dream, someone who stopped writing, someone who still stares out windows but forgot why. Leave a comment with just one word you want to reclaim. One thing you stopped asking for. It doesn't have to be brave. It just has to be true. And if all you can write is maybe, that's more than enough. Because maybe, that's where wanting begins again.